Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, today's first story comes from Duddies Fruddies from the MarkNarrations subreddit. Cheeky. It does have a small update attached to it, and it's titled I, 38 female, am going on vacation without my husband, 40 male. English is not my native language, sorry for any mistakes. I want to preface this saying that my husband and I have separate finances. He covers most of the household expenses and I do most of the housework and childcare. I say most because it's like 80-20 in both aspects. Another important thing to note, that for the past 2 years we've been having problems with our marriage, like fighting, passive-aggressively, 5 days out of the week. It has been hell. I've been stressed the fuck out, gaining weight, losing hair, all the physical signs of stress. Divorce was mentioned several times and family therapy is now on the table. I work a good job and we make roughly the same. This upcoming Eid, my non-Muslim friends, is one of our 2 major yearly celebrations. I'm taking my 8 male son and traveling without my husband. We're meeting family abroad that we haven't seen in years, sort of a reunion. When it was being planned, he wasn't interested due to financial reasons. He makes good money, but he likes spending it. Shopping, latest phone, latest smartwatch, expensive shoes, etc. But I saved a lot for this. Went for months without luxuries, without going out, so I was able to save quite a bit to cover flights and accommodations for myself and my son, but not enough to include my husband. When the trip was first being planned, he was nothing but supportive. With a full smile on his face, he said to go ahead and he won't mind it since I've been in the same room with my family for close to a decade. He was aware of what I'm doing every step of the way and said nothing. Nothing more than a quick, I'm really gonna miss son when you are gone, once, and trying to convince him to stay with him and let me go alone, which I was fine with if that's what he wanted. But he's an 8-year-old dying to see his cousins, so he said no. He was on the phone with me when I was getting the passports, the visas, the plane tickets. But once I booked the non-refundable tickets, he did a 180, silent treatment, muttering about priorities, how he's going to be alone this Eid. His family lives in our city while my family is scattered across the globe. For days he would essentially talk to me with one-word replies, so I'm not proud of it, but I ignored him. It felt like a tantrum. So I thought, fuck it, I'm going. It'll be a nice break and I could figure out what I want to do with this marriage. Also, I wanted to add that if we were in a good place in our marriage, I wouldn't have even considered this. With all of this said, I still feel guilty leaving. Even though last Eid he created a problem out of nowhere, and we spent it basically apart as I refused for him to tarnish this memory for my child, so I took him out a lot on my own. He started therapy a few weeks ago and started communicating better, but I still have little confidence this will last. Now, my very first thoughts on this was like after the story, it sounded like very much like you said that it was a tantrum being thrown. You know, he had the opportunity to save up like you did to be able to go and celebrate. He chose not to. There's also a little part of me is saying, you know, you was discussing about how your marriage is not in a great place right now. And I thought, is this just going to sort of like be another knock to your marriage? And I'm not sure where you actually stand with that, which I'm not saying you should cave to his demands in this at all or anything like that, but it was just something that popped into my head as I was thinking about it. But also after, you know, this has been going on for some time, he knew what the plan was, he knew what was happening, he knew son was going along, and he tried to convince him last minute to stay. Felt really, really shitty to me. But Sweet Tooth says, don't feel guilty, it's on him doing a 180. I'm proud that you stuck to your guns. Eid should be a happy festive time for you. Even if your in-laws are nice, you should still spend it with your own family every so often. I hope therapy works for your husband. Focus on your and your son's happiness. Make sure your son is aware that how you treat people matters. Make sure your husband isn't becoming a poor role model for your son. Kids pick up on more than you realize, so kiddos probably at least subconsciously notice the unhealthy behaviors in your marriage for the past few years. Enjoy time with your family and build your support network up. Have a brilliant Eid. Opie responds saying, the role model point is the biggest reason that was driving me towards leaving for a while. I talked to him honestly about it. He apologized and said he didn't mean to, and he just shuts down facing criticism or conflict. We're in a very typical anxious attachment / avoidant attachment dynamic. But he has been making an effort to be better in front of his son, taking him to get me flowers or gifts, holding my hand in public, etc. And he was never verbally or any sort of abusive, just incredibly emotionally distant. But kids do pick up on energy. I believe that even if he's trying to be better in front of him, he will pick up on the undertones of the relationship pretty soon. I'm hopeful his journey with therapy can give him the tools he needs to be a better partner. So I'm going to give him grace to go through his journey. Still going on the trip though. Lol. Miss Murderpants says, OP in my family is pretty normal to go take a vacation without the spouse / partner. I do it, my mum did, and even my grandmother would come and spend time with us away from grandpa. We live 12 hours away. Your husband sounds like he has control issues. Have a great trip. Opie says, honestly, no, he doesn't. I take trips normally. It's just around Eid is the issue because it's about family. And we only get a handful of them with our kids when they're all dressed up and giddy, getting gifts and a new outfit and the Eid prayer we go to every year. But he wanted me to guess that he doesn't want me to leave him and wanted me to cancel on my own. He held out hope I would cancel last minute, but booking the flight made it real for him. But I refuse to shape my life around a man that doesn't know how to form words. Make them come out of his mouth, just say how he feels. Lol. If he had communicated to me how he feels, we could have reached a compromise. Combination Calm says, go and have fun. I would also seriously think about what you want to do moving forward with your marriage, as this is not healthy for your son to witness this. If he keeps going on about it, then maybe reach out to your local mosque and see what events they are having during Eid. He's not going to be the only one spending Eid alone. I'm sure they will have some group event or meetup for people without families and reverse. Unconcentrate says, my wife and I have been together for 41 years. She vacations without me often. I'm not big on traveling and it's one of my wife's favorite things to do. At first I was upset that she would actually leave me at home, but I realized she came back full of energy and excitement and it improved our marriage. Go have a great time. Hopefully he realizes that a less stressed partner will really benefit your marriage. Hope he said this is such a refreshing outlook. Thank you. And a final comment from AV Max who says, my hubby goes on holiday without me and I'm fine with it. He goes with his sister and nephew once a year at the end of the summer holiday. It's their time. I enjoy having some me time as well. However, I think you already know that your marriage is not good and it's not about a holiday only. Some time away from your husband will be a good thing, I think. Opie says, yes, I think so too. That was one of the reasons I stuck to my guns. Opie gave us their small little update and said, I wasn't expecting so much support. Thank you to all the kind people in the comments and in my DMs. He seems to be getting out of this funk he was in. He's being more positive. He's going on a boys' trip with his friends while we're away. And we started planning another local trip together when we get back. So making lemonade, I guess. He's being more supportive now about the trip, helping with what we need to do before leaving, and we'll be taking son to get souvenirs for his cousins. And I would love to hear how you're doing in the future with your relationship as well. You know, it sounds like progress is being made, even if it's small steps, I'm all for it in the end. And like some of the commenters says, maybe this time away will be a little bit of a push in the right direction. I think we all need our little bit of me time every once in a while. That's not saying that you don't love your partner or anything like that. It's just, you know, a bit of time alone sometimes really does help out. But thank you so much, Ropey, for sharing your story on our subreddit. That's really appreciated. And before we do go into our next story, I do want to say over at r/MarkNarrations, if you do want to share your story, please feel free to do so. Preferably like a concluded story or a story with updates. Even if it's an old story, you can still like put it in like with little updates in between, if you know what I mean. Like as the events happened, like neighbor stories, or you know I love all that sort of stuff. Relationships, families, HOA stories, bit of tree lore every once in a while, entitled people, you name it, you throw it on there. And I'll see if we can get round to it. Obviously, takes a bit of formatting and all that sort of stuff. But thank you so much once again. And let's move on to the next story. And our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit from Strange Tadpole 3749, and it does have a couple of updates with it. And it's titled, Am I the Arsehole Here for not coming to terms with the fact that my wife cheated on me 14 years ago before our marriage? I, 35 male, am married to my wife, 37 female, for 11 years and together for 14. We have a beautiful 7-year-old daughter, and our marriage has been great without any major problems until last year. Last year, I learned that my wife cheated on me before our marriage. One of her friends became religious and confessed her actions to me, which had me confront my wife. She was shocked that I learned it and apologized profusely about her actions. However, she said it's not something important now because we've been going strong and have a family together. She told me I should come to terms with it, since it happened 4 months ago into being exclusive, and she was a stupid girl out of college back then. My mind told me the same. It happened 14 years ago, and we're happy right now. I decided to forgive her and continue our usual life. Reality was not that great. My mental health took a big hit. I realized it's not something that happened 14 years ago for me. The cheating happened for me when my wife confirmed it. I was less confident, could not have sex with my wife. I just could not get an erection for her. This turned into feeling disgusted being around her. I even took a DNA test and STD test secretly. Thankfully, our daughter is mine and I'm clear of STDs. Then a year of intense individual therapy started for me. I realized I needed to change somehow. I was not the same person I used to be. I also communicated my feelings to my wife, and after pushing a bit, we started going to couples counseling too. However, at the end of everything, I decided to proceed with divorce. And here's my reasonings. She not only cheated back then, but lied to me for 14 years. She did not confess the action herself. Even though she apologized, she dismissed the fact by saying it's not important anymore. Young me was robbed of having a choice. Cheating was, and still is, one of the biggest deal breakers for me. If I knew it back then, I would have broke it off. I'm happy with my life, and I'm glad that our daughter came to the world. She is the light that shines the brightest for me. One of the biggest reasons I keep living, but I was still robbed of a choice back then. IC and MC could not solve our problems and my feelings towards her. It also started affecting family life, which could affect our daughter. I think our daughter would be better off as having us co-parents instead of living in a broken family environment, where consistent arguments are present. Sex life is basically dead for me. We do have sex, but I feel like those women on films and series that just lay and look at the ceiling waiting for it to be over. The only difference is that I am a man. I do not even want non-sexual gestures anymore. Last week I had a sit down with my wife and explained everything I wrote here in detail. My feelings, reasonings, and some other private things. I've been talking to a lawyer for the last month and papers are almost finalized. 50-50 custody, 50-50 asset sharing, and as amicable as possible. I explained everything thoroughly and clearly to her. She freaked out and had a panic attack. We spent the night at ER. She is begging me to reconsider and not throw away 14 years. However, even though I would like to stay, it results in us being roommates in a broken family environment for our daughter. Am I in the wrong here? And of course your view is going to change of someone when you've just discovered that 14 years ago, regardless the amount of time that they cheated on you. Like you said, you put it right, that this is not something that happened 14 years ago for you. This happened the moment that she said it. And if you're unable to move past this, simply you're unable to move past this, and I think you're dealing with it in the best way that you can. You want it to be as amicable as possible. But a commenter says, this isn't an arsehole or not question. You aren't able to love her the way you did before. You no longer trust her. The relationship is dysfunctional. Therapy didn't help. Calling you or her, after all she's the cheater, an arsehole will solve absolutely nothing. All you can do now is to make the separation as smooth as possible for your daughter. Itty Berry says not the arsehole, and I'll tell you why. And quotes, even though she apologized, she dismissed the fact by saying it's not important anymore. And then says the only thing that infuriates me more than cheating is someone being dismissive of their cheating because it happened so long ago. It's not old news for you. For you, it just happened because you just found out. Now, even if your wife had been truly apologetic and contrite, I would say you weren't the arsehole for not being able to let this go. The fact that she tried to sweep it under the rug and pretend like it doesn't matter. Huge red flag. Plus, you clearly can't look at her the same way. Get out. It's a shame you couldn't have found out earlier, but at least you know now. End the marriage is best for both you and your child. Odd Fiction says not the arsehole. All I'd be able to think about is, if she lied to me for all these years about this, what else is she lying about? I've never stopped wondering about that. I'd also wonder if there's some other instances and she hasn't told you. The only reason you found out about this one was from someone else. So who's to say there aren't other instances? Maybe not cheating, but that's a long-ass time to lie to you. Realistically, it's not fine and you all haven't been going strong because she's been lying this whole damn time. It's new for you and she broke your trust. She's definitely the arsehole for being dismissive of it and lying this entire time. Then having the audacity to say that you'll have been fine this whole time. So OP's first update says, firstly, I want to thank everyone for their ideas and input about my situation. Some people reached out to me on Reddit chat to state their opinions and we had long talks. They've been incredibly helpful and I want to thank them especially. Some people asked if we went to counselling together. Yes, we've been visiting a counsellor for over a year now on top of my individual therapy. I understand blowing up a marriage for something happening 14 years ago is not logical. However, my feelings towards my wife got even worse after counselling and therapy. It started with not being able to trust her, converted to not wanting sex, then not wanting non-sexual gestures, and finally, I'm not comfortable to be in the same space as her. We've been less than roommates in the last couple of months. I do not hate or resent her, but I just cannot shake off the feelings. I would say I forgave her, but it's not about forgiving anymore when there are no feelings and love. I do not want my daughter to grow up in such an environment. I know how hurtful it can be. I experienced a similar situation with my parents, only the genders reversed. Living in such an environment breaks you as a child and teen. I would have much preferred if my mother just divorced my dad instead of staying for my sake. These being said, I had a long talk with my wife this morning. She has not been eating much since visiting ER, and I'm concerned for her well-being and safety. Some Redditors who reached out suggested considering separation before proceeding with divorce and see if my feelings would change. That is very logical actually. I proposed the idea to my wife and she was happy to hear it. I have an upcoming business trip to the Netherlands next week and I'm planning to extend my stay and stay with my sister once I'm back. Wife abruptly suggested one-sided open marriage and I can do what I want on that business trip if it'll save the relationship, make us even and change my feelings. I rejected because it has nothing to do with that. Even if it changed something for me, it would devastate her knowing I cheated on her in the future. It's not something easy to get over and not an easy decision. This is all the update. We'll try separation for a while and depend on the result and make my decision. Thank you all for the help and opinions. And OP gives us their next update, which says, I have a short update about the situation. I got back from the trip and decided to divorce my wife in the end. The last straw was when my daughter told me I looked more lively and happier after I came back. I realized I'm better off without my wife and just co-parenting our daughter with her. I still feel incredibly uncomfortable around my wife. My wife did not take the news well and is going down the spiral. I called mother-in-law and father-in-law to have them take care of her. She caused some problems. She sent threatening messages to her friend who told me about the cheating. I had to beg her not to sue my wife as I want my daughter to have a mother present in her life, though she'll probably be taken to a mental ward. She is not well. Last time I saw her, I felt scared looking at her eyes. Our daughter is with me now and we've started the divorce process. My lawyer told me if my wife is to be taken to a mental ward, there is a good chance I can get better than 50-50 custody. One should be happy hearing that, but I'm just devastated how it'll affect our daughter. Many Redditors told in the comments that dating life after 30s as a man is not good and I'll be probably forever alone as no one will want me. First thing is, I do not care. Our daughter is my first priority and dating is the last thing I have in my mind right now. Second thing is, I'm confident in myself in every regard to finding friends and a partner. I think this sums up my update. I'll be back maybe in a year, considering how long the divorce process takes when it's not amicable. Thank you. I don't know who was telling OP that they're going to find someone after 30. They can cut that bullshit out right away. But I really do hope things work out for OP and their daughter's future, and I hope, regardless of what happened in the past, that the wife does get some help and gets back on the right track, especially for their daughter's sake. OP is very considerate of that and, wants her to be a part of that life as well. And I get that. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being a part of it. And I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.